Alrighty, folks. Welcome to another Sunday Sync. We don't have a topic yet, but we're just going to open it up to the floor to see what people wanted to talk about. So, anybody have any questions or any topics or direction we want to take this Sunday? I can say that I'm under contract and I close April 2nd on my fourth co-living property, but this one I'm not going to run through pad split. I'm going to run it myself, so I'll throw that out there.
Where is it located?
Gilbert, Arizona.
How
So
far is Gilbert from Phoenix?
It's probably a good 10 mile. It's so Phoenix is central, Gilbert is east of Phoenix, southeast of Phoenix.
Oh, okay.
I've got one in the west side in Glendale, and then one up or two up north, North Phoenix, close to TSMC. And then this one is in Gilbert, which is southeast. So it's kind of a experiment, if you will, kind of a risk, but we'll see how it goes.
Is this the
What
first co-living one in Arizona?
what was that, Renee?
Is this the first co-living one in Arizona?
No, this is the fourth. I
Oh,
ran the first three through a property management company called Pad Split, and this one I'm going to run myself. So we'll see how it goes.
are you going to be living there?
Yeah, off and on. I'll be flying back and forth. I live in Oregon and Arizona, so two places.
Oh, nice. Nice. Well, I close on my one in Arizona on the 31st.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Is it going to be what kind of strategy?
Single family. It's in Vistancia.
Oh,
So,
where's that at?
so it's a community in Peoria.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. That's closer to TSMC. It's up northwest, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I was planning on doing a subject to with the deal, but that kind of fell apart. So we're proceeding forward with this purchase of this house and just going to use our real estate agent to help us rent it. As I don't live in the area, I'm in Minnesota.
Hmm. Well, it's good timing. I know they pledged what another 100 billion into the Taiwan semiconductor, and Peoria is not too far from the TSMC plant. So
Well,
over
it's
time,
really, yeah, it's really close. Yeah, they're they're just expanding it. So because there's a portion of it that's already built. So it's definitely gonna help with the economy.
yeah, yeah, they built one of the buildings is finished. According to some of my renters, I've got a couple of security guards and a cable tech, like a fiber, like they run cable
Yeah,
networking, and they work up there. And they said one of the buildings is already finished, and they've got more to do. So
exciting.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty exciting. So what do other people have cooking?
We just sold our first flip and bought another rental in Oklahoma, but we're more of the small and mighty strategy, just kind of buy our lower end properties and
Hey, would you mind if I
trying
ask
to
you some,
grow.
mind if I ask you some questions on that? Like,
Sure.
so did you do a hard money loan on that, or?
No, we bought it with cash and then sold the flip and bought another rental to keep. It was kind of our strategy to flip properties to get the capital to buy other ones to keep. So this was our first one doing it. It was successful, not a lot of money made, but another property under our belt that we get to keep. So
Yeah,
kind of
and
what
you learn
that's
from it.
kind of what we wanted exactly.
Yeah,
And this is only our fourth property, I guess, buying, including the flip that we let go. Yeah.
that's awesome, man. With Jason Pritchard style, I think he said he flips three or four, some ratio, and then he keeps one for the tax burden. So
Yeah.
when I retire, I want to do something similar to that.
I was thinking like the house hacking in retirement, doing it the reverse way to be able to retire early might work, as a viable strategy. Because
Yeah,
we already have a big house that we live in and kind of wishing that we had house hacked now, but
yeah. Dion's retired and he still house hacks.
yeah, that's what we're thinking. We're like, well, if we want to retire early or if something happens, with the job or something during the younger years and we have that to kind of rely on. The smaller houses that we own, we could always move there, and it's kind of a security blanket, you know.
I think I saw you on Zuber's channel. You're a police officer, right?
Correct.
And then your wife does she do all the books or what? I forgot the story there.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, we have property managers and whatnot, but we kind of dually just look at everything.
So is she the real estate professional?
You know, we would like to get her to that status, but still figuring everything out, trying to see if we could make that work somehow because she doesn't have a W-2, so that'd be awesome.
Oh man, that's
I know.
perfect. That's what we
But we
do,
don't.
by the way.
I just figured you had to have a strategy more like yours where you're more involved, or like Airbnb or something, to be able to figure that number, you know, that you need to hit.
Well,
You have to have an Airbnb to do that.
So
uh, somebody said something, I think.
that was my wife in the background.
Oh,
She's
oh,
sitting far away and trying to chime in.
Yeah, but I'm still in my pajamas, so I don't want to give any time.
awesome. Yeah, man, it's a pretty good cheat code. You know, it's what do they say? It's more of what you keep, not what you make. So if
Correct.
you can do the real estate professional status, if your wife doesn't have a W-2, and you can offset that tax burden and run a cost seg on your property and get that bonus depreciation, man, it's a game changer. I think we got back 45 grand in 2023's tax returns, which was nice. And then last year we bought two houses. So we'll see how it goes this year. Well, it's only a 60% for 2024, but I hear that they're trying to bring back the 100% for 2025, retro to January. So we'll see how that goes. But right now it's 40% for 2025.
Yeah, that's pretty life changing for sure. You can scale a little bit faster using that method, it sounds like. But
Yeah.
you guys do a little bit bigger projects than I'm comfortable with right now, but I love listening and hearing about what you guys are doing. It sounds really successful right now. Seems like it's a really viable strategy right now with, you know, how everybody's hurting. Be able to rent a room cheaper, you know, than paying a mortgage or full rent on a house. So
Yeah, there's some big names behind it. So I think what is it? Better to be lucky than good any day. I just started in it because the cash flow was good, and then now
yeah,
you've got Mark Cuban investing in Pad Split. You got Brandon Turner saying that it's the path of the whale. If you ever heard
yeah,
him talk about how he once a year he's in Maui, so he'll swim out. He's not allowed to get within 100 feet of whales, but if you swim out in front of the path and the whales come to you, then it's legal, right? So he says it's an experience. So he drew the analogy of that to getting in front of rent by room. So the pad split type model. So yeah, and it's sad, but at the same time, you know, it's for me it's a win-win because I hear the stories from people. I've got one lady that's our house mom. It's always organically somebody in the house always sort of becomes like the de facto sort of standard setter, and we have a house mom and then we have a house dad and a couple of the houses. And so the house mom, she says that 8 years ago she had a stroke, and then she lost her house, lost her job, things like that, and she's getting back on her feet and moving into this place. She said she's finally felt comfortable, and so that makes me feel good, so things like that make
gotcha.
yeah.
So I mostly invest in a little 25,000 population town right now, and there's some bigger houses there that are actually pretty affordable, but I just don't know what the demand would be for like a pad split idea. And I know people are looking for economical ways to live there, because they don't make a lot of money. But so I was just kind of wondering if that would work in a smaller population town.
Yeah, you could get on the different sites. Probably not going to show a lot, but you can just to look. Zillow just about 4 or 5 months ago, they have rent by room, but it's probably not a lot there. But you can look on Zillow, you can look on Furnish Finder, Roomies, Roomster. You can Google, rent by room, see. But in 25,000 population town, probably not going to be, a whole lot. But anyway. Well, cool. Yeah, I like the idea of flipping to earn income to then buy real estate. But for me right now, it's just the W-2s providing the income, and then when I retire, then I'll look at something like that. So we see we have Hank joined and Andy and a few others. We're just sort of free floating here. So if you guys have some topics to throw out, go for it.
You know, you mentioned on another call that I heard, you said pad split upset you or something. Is that why you're managing yourself now or trying that route, or what
Yeah,
happened?
they
If you can
changed
speak.
their fee structure. And so
Gotcha.
now they're taking, they used to be a flat rate, right? A static entry that you could or a static fee that you could count on, right? And it was about 15% off the gross. Okay, fine. So you can account for that. But now I'm not so much upset about they take 10 days of every new member plus 8%. And so that 10 days, if you get a member and then they move in for a month or two and then they move on, you're getting hit with that 10-day hit every single time.
Okay.
So the existing properties, I'll keep them with pad split because they're working fine. And if I lose one member, fine. It's one room, not the end of the world. Where if I bring up a brand new house, I'm hit, in the beginning, you have a lot of turnover. So you're going to take a bath for the first 6 months or even the first year. So your returns for that first year are going to be pretty bad. So I just don't see it as a viable solution. So I'm going to go ahead and run it on my own. This next one. So
Makes sense.
yeah.
How many bedrooms are you going to move the house out to, and how many is it now?
All of mine are 8 bedroom, 3 bath, and so this one's already a 6'3". It's a 2,400 square foot house in Gilbert. So there's a downstairs huge room that I'm going to turn into a bedroom, and then the upstairs living room I'm going to turn into a bedroom and make it an 8'3", maybe an 8'4". There's a room down there that I could probably make it a half bath, if not a full bath. So that'll be interesting. If I can turn that into a half bath or a full bath, I'll probably leave the master bedroom alone and rent it as an ensuite because that'll bring in an extra like 250, 300 in that area, especially. But if I can't add that half bath, then what I'll do is I'll create a hallway or I'll pop into the master bedroom and wall off the door access from that master and then come in through the closet. I have to show you the layout and then open up that bathroom for the rest of the house to use as a shared bathroom. So a lot of it's going to depend on the contractor in a couple of days when they go through and give me a quote. So I got a couple contractors. My real estate agent's going to let them in and go through the house. My agent knows what I want. I flew down there last week and we walked the house and I told him what I wanted to do. So we'll see how it goes. So we probably have some other people doing deals or other strategies and whatnot to kind of want to deviate from the rent by room because I don't know if anybody's doing that. Silence. Ooh.
Like I said, we're slow, so we don't have a whole lot. We just one a year minimum is our goal right now
How
to
did
buy and hold.
how did you said you paid cash for it? Did you save up for that?
I used a HELOC,
Oh, okay, cool. And then
just recycling the HELOC.
are you working on paying the HELOC back then over time?
When we sold the flip, we paid the HELOC back, used the profit from the flip to buy the next rental.
Nice. That's awesome, man.
And then now we have the HELOC available again. So
Yeah. I do something called velocity banking with my HELOC. So I can, if you guys Google it, it's a way to pay down debt really fast. If you guys want, I can share my screen and show it, but it's kind of involved, a little bit of a spreadsheet nightmare. But essentially, I'm using debt to pay down debt.
yeah, if you want to share, I heard what's his name with Velocity Mortgage talking about that.
Oh, the Velocity Bank. Yeah. This has the same name, but it's basically the Australians came up with it because they have got, just like Canada, they have 5-year debt and they basically wanted to pay off the houses in that 5 years so they didn't have to refinance into higher rates. So
So how does that even work mathematically? Is that like taking advantage of the fact that HELOCs accrue interest daily and like using that as your bank account and like so essentially you're like keeping the lowest possible balance
yeah,
possible in your HELOC until you have to withdraw, and is
yeah,
that how that works?
let me share my screen and go over it here. You guys seeing my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is kind of it's a little bit outdated because I'm about right here right now. What is this March? I'm about 17 grand in my HELOC. But essentially you can if you're seeing my screen, let's say I put $40,000 down on my HELOC, and let's say my HELOC rate is 7%. In January, I've got 40 grand on there. And what I do is I take every dime I make, both personal and business related, and I put, here's my breakdown. If you go through here, here's all my expenses, my personal expenses. What you have to do is put down every expense you have. So I'm just going to outline these, break these out. So these are all my expenses for all my rental properties. And here's my personal, is all my bills. And so what you can do is, because I'll just leave that out. Let me minimize this so you can see the actual breakdown. So you get all your expenses laid out, and this is what you pay. Take all of your income and you put every dime into the HELOC. So you take, let's say you make, well, here's my breakdown, right? So here's all my rent income, my W-2 after taxes, my other VA, and all my income. And here's my expenses. So what I'm left with is 10 grand to the positive. So for me, I've got about a 10 grand pay down rate on my HELOC. So I've got, this will work with 1,000 or whatever. You just basically, what I try to do is make sure that I don't have any more than under a year or 6 months, let's say, of payments, just in case because your HELOC is a variable rate. I don't want to be stuck in like 100 grand and all of a sudden the rate goes from 7 to 15 or whatever, right? And then I'm paying a bunch of interest. So essentially what I do is put every dime into the HELOC. It pays the HELOC down. So you can see the next month, my HELOC goes down to 29,000. And then the same thing happens again, is I put every dime I make into the HELOC again. And basically over time, it pays it down really, really fast. So if I break out one of these, for example, like my, well, let's see. Let's go here. So you can see these payments right here. They would normally be, well, actually, I'm not going to go into that because I did something kind of crazy. I double velocity banked it. I'm also using 0% credit cards to put all my utilities on the credit card, which does include the credit card, but what you're doing is consolidating debt and you're paying down debt faster. You could think of it like, let's say you had 5 credit cards and you're paying the minimum on all 5. That sucks, right? So if you take all 5 credit cards, put all the balances on your HELOC and you consolidate all that payment towards it, you pay it down faster. But
Right.
the real cool thing about it is you're not making a payment, right? The fact that you're putting all of your income into the HELOC satisfies the payment, right? So you don't have a HELOC payment. So all you're doing is you're paying the interest on that payment. So you can see this 40,000, I'm paying $233 for interest in that month. This is the average daily balance. So if you look at this right here, it's taking the 7% plus this. It's not 100% accurate, but the average daily balance. If you looked at this on my HELOC, you'd see this goes up and down like a yo-yo. Because what happens is, I put 40 grand down on the HELOC, and then let's say I get 10 grand positive. Well, I actually get about, I don't know, it works out to be, what is it, 26,000 or something like that. So 26,000 plops down on the HELOC. So then I'm left with 14,000 as a balance. But throughout the month, my mortgages come out, my utilities come out, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't bother showing all that here, but net result at the end of the month, I'm at 29,000. So I net out basically 10 or 10.5 less. But throughout the month, it's not this is worst case scenario. This is based on 40 grand, but it's not 40 grand. Like I said, I put 26,000 down and then I'm left with 14. And then over the course of that month, more and more bills, mortgages, utilities, whatever come out, and it goes back up to 29. So it's actually less than this. So I'm paying probably like $200 in interest to use that money. But what I'm doing is I'm paying down that debt really, really fast. So anyway, I don't know if that makes sense to everybody, but that's what I'm doing.
It's a little over my head, but trying to figure that out, my stress level just went like through the roof.
All right.
But I'm sure with more explanation, and I don't know, I just don't grasp math
That's
quickly.
nice.
Yeah.
Let me feed it back to you to make sure I got this right, because I think I got it.
Okay.
Let's just do a small example here. Let's say we had a $30,000 HELOC. I'm going to take that $30,000 HELOC and immediately putting it against my mortgage. That way, because I put it against my mortgage, that's $30,000 on my mortgage I'm no longer paying interest on.
Yep.
That's now going to principal payments. But now I have a HELOC at a higher interest rate. However, by using velocity banking, you're essentially treating that as your bank account, and HELOCs accrue interest daily based the daily average balance and not monthly like a mortgage.
Exactly.
So what you're doing is because you're refilling it, you're basically trying to keep the balance as high as, well, no, on the HELOC as low as possible for the longest amount of time and only take out money when you absolutely have to. Because
Right.
you're doing that, even though you have a higher interest rate on the HELOC than the mortgage per se, because you're keeping the daily balance lower, therefore you're paying less interest total. Do I kind of get, and you keep repeating until basically you pay down the HELOC entirely. Do I
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
get, okay,
I can
I
give an
get that.
example. Like I have a house that if I was to do that, I would do a chunk of 30,000 or maybe 60,000, but let's just say 30,000 to make it easy. So if I was to take, that is one strategy. Like I don't actually want to pay off mortgages. I just want to pay down the mortgage to where my debt to or my loan to value is say 50%. So I've got two of mine at 60% right now. And that way more of what the renters are paying pays more towards principal. But yeah, what you just said, like let's say I had a $300,000 loan. If I was to take $30,000 and plop that down on principal off my HELOC, for me, it depends on your cash flow, how much cash flow you have coming in. But for me, I could pay it off in 3 months. But let's say you could pay it off in a year or whatever your cash flow works out to be. If you have $300,000 mortgage and you have say 7% rate, that's about $56,000 in interest you just saved when you put that $30,000 down on principal, because now you're at 270, right? And you also knock off 4.5 years of that mortgage, and that cost you a whopping $300 in interest. Well, depending on how long you stretch that out, like depending on your cash flow, you can figure your worst case scenario on 30,000 in today's rates is let's just say it's worth 10%. You're going to pay $300 in interest. Now, if you're paying $300 in interest on the first month, and let's say you didn't have 10 grand, you had 5 grand or 2 grand or whatever, you could do the math on that and figure out the interest over time. So if you had to pay for an entire year, then you might be paying, something like, I don't know, maybe $1,100 in interest or whatever the interest is. Let's say $2,000 in interest. You got to make the determination is, do you want to do that? Like, do you care enough to pay that principal down? Because you'd save $56,000 in interest, but then you're paying all of that cash flow towards that debt. And you got to take that and see what your opportunity cost was for that cash versus paying down the debt. You'd have to do the return on investment for you. But for me, I can pay down that 30 grand in 3 months. So for me, it's a no brainer. So it just depends on your situation.
It's an interesting idea. It's, especially like if in my case where like I want to refinance soon, it could be an interesting idea to try for 6 months just to like save on interest. And then if my ultimate goal is refinance out, like get a lower rate, because I'm also dealing with like a boundary issue of like trying to get to like 20% equity, just because I have an 8% mortgage right now that I like want to probably get down to a 6.5. It is a very interesting use case. And I think I get it because I've also had the same idea. Oh, I'm just saying, the only reason why I get your nonsense of saying is I had the same idea sort of with taking out loans against life insurance to buy more PUAs against life insurance to increase the cash value and earn more dividends. And over the long term, it would be more beneficial.
Yeah. For anybody who wants to look at it, as somebody explains it way better than I do, I put the link to a YouTube channel in the chat. And for those listening in Futureland, to steal from Dion, Korean Atlanta Mentorship. Just like it's a Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And there's another one called Vantastic. And those two people talk about velocity banking. And it's a really interesting concept. And I've been using it and I like it a lot. But you have to be disciplined with money. Like you can't use it and then keep abusing it. You'll never get there, right? It's just like credit cards. And so I like it a lot because it's helping me pay down debt really fast. Because I'm not flipping like who was it? Richard? Yeah, I think it was Richard. In Oklahoma, I'm not flipping, so I don't have cash to plop down. So I have just a regular W-2 job, so I don't have that advantage of having mass cash come in at a certain time. So what I'm doing is I'm using my HELOC also to buy the properties, but then I'm paying it down fast enough where it doesn't impact me. So that's the reason I'm doing it. Yeah, sorry to throw a curveball at everybody, but that's a kind
No,
of a
it's great. It's great. I just don't quite grasp it yet. My brain's not that fast, but it seems like this might pay off some cheaper properties like really fast if you were to use that.
yeah.
You know, I'm buying like $100 or sub $100,000 properties, you know, so I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well,
But
that $300,000 house, if I was to chunk it in 30K chunks, I could pay it off in 2.5 years. But I don't want to do that because
yeah,
the opportunity cost and it doesn't work for me. I'd rather buy another asset that would appreciate and bring in income rather than, I don't want to say waste, but I just did the math just to see what was possible. So let's say I did that. I paid that house off in 2.5 years. Great. That would free up $2,500 in cash flow, but it would take me 2.5 years to do it. And I would be focused 100% on it. Whereas in the next 2.5 years, I could buy another, I'm going to probably buy five more properties, very conservative 1,000 net. That's $5,000. So I'd rather have the $5,000 net more a month and the appreciating properties than having the $2,500 that paying off that property yields me. You know what I mean? So you gotta do the ROI. But I am doing chunking to where I'll chunk $30,000 on at one time to get my loan to value down to 50%. And that way, because I plan on, this is going to sound weird to a lot of people, but I plan on cash out refining. So you're probably thinking, wait a minute, why would you spend the money to pay that down just to refi? Well, because the debt, it's so cheap, right? Like because I can do it in 3 months, it's going to cost me $300-400 in interest. Why not? And then I pay down my principal. So then when the rates do drop and I can cash out refi, I can recover more of that because I need to keep probably 80% loan to value on the property. So if I get it down to 50, that gives me 30% of that property. And these are $500,000 houses. So I'm 100 and whatever, 50 grand or whatever I can pull from two
and
houses.
that's tax-free money.
Yeah, and exactly. That's the other point too. It's tax-free. So it's a loan. So it's not it's not income, right? So good point. Yeah. So sorry, we got really deep into something that most people probably don't care about. But that link to that YouTube channel, the guy explains it pretty well, and he's funny. He does the exact same video every single time, over and over and over and over again. And his thought process there is kind of like Bruce Lee, where Bruce Lee says he doesn't fear the person that knows all these different styles, but fears the person that does the one kick 10,000 times, something like that. Anyway, so that's his thought.
Did you put that link in the chat?
Yeah, it's in the chat, the YouTube channel.
Yeah, well, I'm on Zoom.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's in the Zoom. Or sorry, it's in the chat and the Zoom. Let me put it again. Should be there. If you didn't join after, it might not show up. Okay. But yeah, it's just Korean Atlanta mentorship. And he's a young kid. He's funny, and he's finally getting into real estate. So he talks about velocity banking. The light bulb turned on for him. And so now he's got a rental property, and I think he's buying another one. So he's kind of combined the two. He came in it from paying his bills off. I came in it from real estate and leveraging velocity banking the other way around. So how's it going, Jim?
Pretty good.
Hey, Jim, what's happening?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too.
If you guys have
how's the remodel coming along?
I haven't started that yet. I did go up there, drop stuff off, got measurements, so I got the drawings already. We're gonna go up there Tuesday, start demo. I have too many projects going right now, just out of construction. So
I hear you.
Yeah, it'll hopefully I can still get it done by June, but I just have so much going on. So we'll see.
Good problems.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that also brings, so what I'm probably going to do is get a couple of the contractors up there and get some estimates from them for certain things. You cut out, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I was talking to my wife.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, and so I'm going to probably get some estimates up there. I'm going to get some estimates up there, some other contractors, so I can keep doing my stuff down here. I'm going to leverage both of them.
Awesome. Doing big things.
Yeah, hopefully.
Jared, how are you purchasing this new one in Arizona? Are you conventional, DSCR, hard money?
Yeah, conventional. I'm putting 5% down. It's a primary purchase, so I'll be living there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think you said that in a couple Sundays ago. That's what you were doing. Yeah, I had to learn the hard way how a DSCR loan works, like really quick, and definitely an experience different than a conventional. Mostly because I didn't understand what do they do. It has to be a certain percent for you to be in the top tier of their financing, which means the rents have to come in and they do their data. And sometimes that, which we learned, the appraisal was low, not on the house, not on the value of the house, but on the rents for the area, which meant our terms didn't come back as favorably as we wanted them. And so we ended up deciding to put more down to basically get back into the tier that we needed to be in for this to make sense.
I just came across that same thing. I just did a DSCR close on my newest rental, and we had our realtor. The comps came back really low, and we had our realtor. I knew that the rents were higher than because there wasn't a lot of comparables in the area, but we know people that rent houses there, so we had our realtor send some leases and some more accurate comps to the appraiser, which brought it up.
We did that too, and we got them to come up a tiny bit, not enough, which kind of made us mad because there's no way that the rents were as low as they were appraising it out. I mean, not it was just crazy. And we're like, where do you get this information?
Yeah.
So, and my realtor actually lives a couple blocks from the house I'm buying. And he says, he's like, that's crazy. And he tried to, get her to come up with his data that he could share, but she was pretty stubborn about it and said that was the most she would come up.
Yeah, I noticed they're being extremely conservative right now, for sure.
Yep. Well, we learned it. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Jared,
Yo,
is there a percentage of how residency, how much time you have to spend?
I don't know. But I'm going to occupy. Well, actually, it's funny. I was planning on occupying one of the rooms there, but when I went and toured the house last week, I'll call it an ADU. There's a shed out back, but it has power. It has an AC unit, and it has just enough room for a little bed, and that's going to be my room, I think. And I'll put a toothbrush out there to make Dion happy.
Yeah, see, I'm wondering if there is an actual algorithm for that for FHA because.
Oh, I'm not doing FHA. It's just a conventional.
Even conventional, whatever it is. I wonder if there is an algorithm for actually residing in it because I'm out of town 3-4 days a week, certain places.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do a rehab on it or whatever else. I can say, hey, I'm living in that place to rehab the other one for that year-long time that you have to do it.
There's a guy that's in Dion's course that parks a trailer at the house and calls that his room, and he's never there. So, I mean, I'm not super worried about it. I mean, is it morally wrong? I don't know. I mean, if you look at the verbiage, it says you intend to live there, which I do, because I do need to be down there. I've got 4 junior admins that need a lot of help. I'm an IT manager, and I've got 4 brand new network engineers that need a lot of help. So I'm gonna be spending a significant amount of time down there throughout the week, and then I'll come back on the weekends.
That's my exact point.
Yeah.
So 3 to 4 days a week or 3.5 days a week, that's half the time.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I mean, if they want to come after me for that, then go for it. I mean, as long as I'm paying the mortgage, I don't think they should care too much. But
now,
Does
your primary
second home come into play with that?
What's that?
Would second home come into play with that?
We're not buying it as a second home. No, we're just buying it as a primary. So,
but do you have to change like your address on your ID and all that kind of stuff to make that?
I've done it before and I didn't change it. So, I mean, hell, my brother's he lived in Arizona and he's up here in Oregon and he hasn't changed his ID in like, I don't know, 10 years. He should, sure. I think it's expired now. The Arizona licenses don't expire for a while, but
I moved to Arizona and didn't change mine until just a day before it was going to expire.
yeah, yeah.
So at one point, I intended to live in a house that I bought with, well, at that time it was 15% down, but I never lived in there because a month later, I was told I had to be back in the office 3 days a week. So technically, I intended to live there, but it just never panned out.
When it's all said and done, you're making payments. I don't think anybody's going to care. FHA might, but conventional probably won't.
My bank never checked once.
Yeah.
I was making payments, they never cared. And I think that's generally how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other house I didn't live in for a full year. I was there 8 months. So, I mean, I don't know if they want to come after me for that. And if they check into it, my mom had a stroke and then she passed away. So if they want to come after me for that, then, go for it.
But what's the advantage of that? It's just a less interest rate because it's primary.
Oh, well, cheaper rates and also less down. So that's the reason I'm taking this risk and doing all of this. There's many variables that I normally wouldn't do. One, it's a 600, well, I'm paying 565, but it's a $630,000 house roughly value wise, but I'm paying 565, 563. But I'm putting 28 grand down, right? And I got 18K in concessions. So I bought the rate down to 6.7 and I put 28 grand down. I'm going to probably put 20 into it for reno. So for me, it's cheap. I'm less than 50 grand and I have a house that'll probably yield just about, it won't make as much as the other houses. It'll be about 1,000 net, but it'll still be worth it. Especially because 5 to 7 years from now, I'll look back and go, hey, appreciation in this neighborhood. It's still actually a seller's market, even though all of Arizona is a buyer's market. Chandler and Gilbert are sellers markets still. So I was lucky to get the house for as much off as I did in the area that it's in. There's a lot more factors than just the strategy, but I am trying something new in a different area. So there's a lot of variables and a lot of risk here, but I figure it's risk and I have a W-2 job. I have money in the bank. So if I do this and I totally screw it up, worst case is I just go back to pad split and say, hey, I screwed it up. Take this one too.
Long term, do you have a yield difference between how you're getting this one with notably lower down versus the others?
Oh yeah, like I put 105 grand down on one and then 130 grand down on another, whereas this one I'm only putting 28 grand down. So 5% versus 25% and 30%.
So what does that do to your yields percentage wise?
Cash on cash is fantastic. Yields not so much because your debt is higher, right? I'm paying almost 4,000 a month for this versus 2,500, 2,600 for the other properties because I put so much down. So the debt service. So like for example, they're all 8 bedrooms. The other properties, the first 4 bedrooms pay the mortgage and the 5th one pays the utilities. On this one, I need 5 bedrooms to pay the mortgage basically, and then the 6th one pays the utilities. So the profit margin on this is only the 7th and 8th bedroom. But I'm running this one differently. I'm doing 3-month leases, so not the week to week that I'm doing with pad split. So the hope is I get it's a better area. I'm hoping to get better members and longer term members. So, and there's no supply in that area for this strategy. There's like I think a total of 10 houses in all of Gilbert that are doing rent by room, mainly because the cost is so high. And Gilbert doesn't have industry like Chandler does. It's more of a family town. It's mainly houses, but there are shops and places around there. And there's a downtown, a small downtown, but that's part of the reason there's no supply. So it's not really a smart move for this strategy. But because of the lack of supply, I'm hoping to take advantage of that and kind of as long as the property can pay for itself and make a few bucks, it's a cash flow play, but it's also kind of a appreciation play in the long term, just because it's building up so fast. It's gentrified big time. Like if you look at the crime map, Gilbert has no crime, and I've been there a lot, and the police force is amazing, and they're putting a lot of money into that area, and so it's blowing up. And if you look at the reason I like Gilbert is because about 9 months ago, the average median income for the population there surpassed Scottsdale, right? So Scottsdale, if you don't know the Arizona market, Scottsdale is kind of the hoity-toity area, right? And the house prices there are still like 2.5 million plus or whatever medium, but Gilbert, the houses I think are 750, 800 medium, something like that. I don't know the actual number, but the fact that in the last year, more income is coming into that area, and it is more family based, but there's also the age. Like there's about, I think the average age there dropped from 38 to like 35 or something like that. There's younger people coming in there. So it's kind of the path of progress. So we'll see. I don't know. It's a risk on all fronts.
I wonder long term, say 5 years down the road, if you could refinance because you'd have the equity, could that kind of wind up being one of the better deals long term
Yeah,
because of being able to do that versus when you refinance the other ones? I don't know.
it could. Yeah. Well, I've already noticed like the west side doesn't appreciate as much as even central Phoenix, and then the east side appreciates more. It's just a yeah, and in the Arizona, the Valley, it's like the east side's better, central's okay, and then the west side not so much. But they did build a stadium out that way, and there is some effort happening on the west side of Glendale. But in general, that's kind of the consensus. East side's better.
You have a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What was the investment to get everything set up? Cameras, mics, lights, all that stuff.
Oh, I don't know, like $200 or $300 for
Okay,
a
so it's not
camera
much.
and a microphone or something like that. I did buy, well, actually, maybe not. I bought the Shure mic because I bought another mic. I bought this thing. I went cheap. I bought the whatever the hell this thing is, Audio Technica. Don't do that. Very bad. This thing. I don't know if you can see it, but well, where am I? There, my face on it. Yeah, so Audio Technica, and that didn't work out. So I bought the Shure mic that I saw a lot of the bigger pockets people using, and it's way better. So, hey, Brandon, how's it going, man? I've been watching your videos.
Thanks.
Good stuff. For guys that don't know, Brandon does build to rent, and it's kind of a strategy a lot of people are doing these days, and it seems to be working out pretty good.
No, I've seen a few of his videos. The only reason I'm not doing it is because I'm in California, as Matt likes to say.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be doing that all day long.
You ever hear Jason Hartman refer to California as the People's Republic of Communist-fornia or something like that? It's like, wow, he really doesn't like California.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame him. I mean, I love my area because I'm Sacramento. I'm 2 hours from snow. I'm 2 hours from the ocean.
Nice.
So it's a perfect area.
Well, I'm in Oregon. It's same thing, but we're an hour from the mountain, hour from snow. It's nice. I just don't like I don't want to say it, but politics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the politicians need to get out of their own way, and everything will work much better.
Yeah. Well, they're starting to, like, at least they legalized drugs here, and that was a disaster for the last 5 years. Just absolute disaster. So they finally realized, hey, this isn't working, and so they backed off on that.
Dude, that was the opposite in California. They made it so they could actually enforce things now because it is legalized. So now it's easier for them to go after people because they have money to do it.
Mm.
So they're going after. I mean, Richard knows this. They're going after those illegal things all the time.
Mm.
If you're licensed, you have certain rules. If you don't follow the rules, then they're going after you because they have money to enforce it.
Somebody asked for that velocity sheet. I didn't have the one I shared, but I put an older one with an example in the chat. So it's on a Google share. It's probably a better one to look at because it's using 6,000. It's an example breakdown. So
Thank you.
So Brandon, what do you got cooking, man?
Well, I know some of y'all seen those articles. There was a fourth article published on Business Insider today. And I got a text from somebody let me know that. I didn't realize that was out there, but just we're about finished with one of the builds. I know I've been saying that, I think, for a little bit. I think we're now at the finish line next 2 weeks. That'll go on the market here. Probably 2 weeks from now, we'll be putting it on the market. The other build that we're doing, I'm probably 45 days out from being finished. So that'll be number 11 and 12. Trying to bank some more land, looking at land right now.
I want to come to your house, man, and hang out in your backyard. Go swimming in that pool. It's awesome. So, well, good job, man. That's awesome. You have 4 articles. That's amazing. You're blowing up, man.
It's been interesting because the channel has not that it was big, but it more than doubled in 1 week.
Wow.
So it's and every day now, still growing, even today. And I worked on a video that I think I'm going to do one. Normally do my videos on Thursdays, but I'm going to put another one out Tuesday. And I came up with the idea of just discussing self-discipline. So that's the tease. I'm going to be talking about self-discipline, and it's going to be a lot of life. And then I'm going to bring it back into real estate and some of the ways that it's applied to real estate and growing your portfolio.
How long did it take you to get your YouTube channel all set up?
I was, I started it right around September 1st was when I started the channel. So it didn't take, it wasn't, it didn't take too much. Just the key to it is thinking on the right name so that you don't have to change it. And I'm not saying I did that perfectly, but I've got the name now, and just getting in there and just being real. I don't edit my videos. You're going to see when I make a wording error, I'm just going to be who I am and press record and put those on.
I put Brandon's Jim, you asked for my channel. I put it in there, and I put Brandon's channel in there too. That's the right one, right, Brandon?
Let me get it to show. Why is it not showing my chat? Hold on just a second.
Yeah, that's the right one. I just made sure to click on it. So you guys should go subscribe to Brandon's channel.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, cool.
But just sharing the background, that's another video I did, a second one. My background's been in finance for 25 years. I started out as a stockbroker, then went into banking and became a vice president of commercial banking. Did that for years. And I was also the analyst. So I got to look at everybody's company, run the financials, and then analyze the financials and sit down with that potential loan or that client. And these were all clients that were $1 million loans and higher. So I would sit down with them and consult with them about their business. And that was one of the things I put out on our Skool channel the other day, because I saw some business discussions and how people were looking at buying businesses. And I put out the book that we used, and it's not a cheap book. It's about $240 book, and it's published every year, but it's all the best practices of almost every industry there is. And then also the metrics. If you were to buy a franchise or buy a plumbing business, you name it, it gives you all the details of how to buy it, but it also gives you best practices in the financials, what the payroll should be, what just all the different, what's operating costs. So those are the things that I used to do, is consult with our bigger clients, and then after that went to be a CFO of a company and helped facilitate a sale on that, and then got into real estate. So it's just all I've been in is finance and real estate all my life. And that's the reason for the channel, is I was getting a little bit older. I know I've shared this with Jared, getting a little older and just wanting to make an impact for others. I don't think this will ever become where I do a coaching or a paywall. It's not my intent. It's to share what I've learned over the years and share my story and just be real. Because I wasn't perfect. And I'm going to share some this summer of some little mistakes that I made on each build and what I learned every build. So that's just the nature of who I am. Just trying to share it and learn from y'all too. I've learned some things from even this specific Sunday afternoon group. So I'm glad I was able to join today.
Yeah, that's all I'm trying to do is document what I'm doing. I'm not looking for it to do anything else because I don't want to put that kind of time into it. But that's the logo I came up with and everything for my channel.
Yeah,
I like it, dude.
That's good.
That's awesome.
So I say my daughter came up with the logo.
No, that's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's all I really want to do is document, like you said, try to help people out. I've been doing this a long time. So if people need help, I'm definitely there to help them.
Yeah, the fun part is going back and watching your videos like a year or two later and realize how dumb I was. Like, just it makes me laugh.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll get into lives or anything like that right now because I have a 360 camera, so I'm going to do a bunch of videos of that and then do some input of it and have my son edit it all out and put it and just upload them for right now. Just to start it, because I want to start everything from start to finish of these two houses because one's going to be short term, one's going to be long term.
I shared with Jared the other day, and I think this might be interesting to this group. There was a lender at the ORAD event, and I checked them out and ended up refinancing a DSCR loan with them and locked in actually a better rate than I could get from Convoy. I know you see Convoy out there a lot. Well, I called that very day and Convoy was quoting me 6%, and I locked in 5.25% for 30 years with a different DSCR company.
How many lenders should you go out to and ask for quotes from?
Man, let me I'll send y'all the link. I've got a link to it too, a direct portal. I would say, I was talking to 4 different DSCR lenders, and I do find out they're pretty significantly different. Each DSCR group is dramatically different, more so than even going to a bank. They're more different. So you definitely want to look at multiples. And Lending One was the company I went to. And the reason they can be very competitive on loans, and I'll post this link, they are a private DSCR lender. They don't take the loan and then sell it to Wall Street. They are Wall Street in a sense. It's their money and they keep the loan. So they're very competitive on rates.
This is the one they were at the ORAD event.
Yes.
Yeah. No, yeah, I've already had a couple meetings with them.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I have to do DSCR. I don't have a choice.
Is this the one that only does, was it LLCs or businesses,
Yeah.
no sole proprietors?
Correct.
You can't do it in a trust. It has to be an entity. It doesn't have to be an LLC. You can do it in a trust. Yeah.
So Esther's asking you a question, Brandon, about she's looking at DSCR loans. Do you mind to share, Brandon, the direct link? Oh, you just did. Okay.
Yeah, I would say some things. The things you want to ask are, what are origination fees? That's a big difference depending on DSCR lender. So you want to ask about the origination fees. How much is the cost of the appraisal? Lending One, of course, lets you pick your own title company. Different states are a little different. Some states use lawyers to close. Some use title companies. Those were the only 2. I'm trying to think of any other fee that was involved. I chose to buy down the points because at 5.25%, I don't anticipate them. I'm looking at the landscape years down the road. For it to be significantly lower than 5.25%, I think there's a very low likelihood of being much lower than that. So I chose to buy down the points because I plan to set it and forget it and let it go. It actually saved me $500 a month. So that was a pretty big amount. You can figure on when you're doing refinances that once it's 1% below is about 10% to the payment. And usually you don't want to even consider refinance until it's at minimum 1% below what you currently are.
Buying some cheaper properties with the DSCR product, I learned that if it's under $150,000 amount, you're probably not going to get the best rate either, because
You're right.
I buy, you know, sub 150 properties, and I was asking why are you guys advertising like a 6 something, and I got like a 7.25, but they said they got to meet that $150,000 price tag before you get the better rates. Just to keep in mind if anybody's buying cheaper properties.
That's a very good point. It's kind of a similar principle when you're doing a mortgage. It used to be the minimum mortgage loan. Now, this was a couple of years ago, was 50,000. I think most of them have raised it since then to closer to 100,000 because the guidelines of the cost to close, according to federal guidelines of that percentage of what it could be. I think it has some similarities with the DSCR.
Yeah, that's correct. They're looking for 100,000 or above for sure.
Richard, what'd you have to put down on that?
Well, it was 131,000 purchase price. We put 37,000 down.
Oh, okay.
And there's also different rates based off of loan to value. It's going to be, you know, you're starting out at 80% or 85%. It's going to be a certain low loan price. If you're getting down to below 70, it goes even lower. Below 60, is probably what they told me is where it caps out, where it's the lowest price is below 60%. Another thing I hadn't shared on Lending One that gives them an advantage, and he said they cannot advertise this, is they are.
Hey, before you go, Brandon, we are recording, just FYI.
Okay. He said I could share it.
Oh, okay.
He said they are a part of Blackstone. They have an unlimited, he said, he used the word unlimited. We know there is limit, but they have unlimited money because they're Blackstone. So they're not selling the loan onto Wall Street. And that's where if you take, and I'm not trying to bash Convoy, I'm just trying to talk differences. Convoy does theirs as packages, and it's a Wall Street product. So there's transfer costs, and depending on the rate, they can't sell the loan. So they have to be a little bit higher. With Lending One, they can be lower because they keep the loan in-house. And this is just my assessment. You know, they have the other side of it is BlackRock. And I'm thinking it's pretty creative because if they had a loan go sideways or go south, guess who could pick it up? BlackRock. They could pick up the real estate. I don't know if that's their intent, but I bet you they do look at it. But that's what makes Lending One so good is they're not selling it. And so they've been able to be the most competitive.
It's kind of like going to a local bank near where you're purchasing to get better rates. They keep it in-house. So that makes total sense.
So that's just a little bit of what I learned. And Lending One has some other products for anybody wanting to do construction. They do a construction loan, and I compared them to the local, your local lender. They are a little higher, about a point or 100 basis points higher than your local bank. But for somebody that doesn't have those relationships, it's worth taking a look at. So they've got multiple products. It's not just DSCR. They've got, they'll do a purchase, a refi, construction, all kinds of things. It's a pretty robust system.
2 questions for you. How much was your buy down?
I did 4 points. I maxed it out.
And what did that cost?
Well, it was based off of the loan. This loan was $400,000, so I paid 16 down. 16,000 down on it, but the payback on it was a little over 3 years, so it was worth it. And I don't plan to constantly refinance. It'll
Well, if
be
you can get,
years.
if like you said, if you get that 5.25, you're not going to. It's not going down that
Yeah.
low. Not
Yeah,
anytime in the next 2 to 3 years.
that's what I think too. I think even longer than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't want to have that reason of why it would have to go down that
Yeah.
low.
Exactly.
That'd be a pretty painful reason.
Yes. And then, what was that? I forgot. I'll ask you in a minute. Oh, one thing that in talking to them, they won't lend on anything with property over acre and a half, though.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, because I'm looking at several properties that have more than an acre and a half. Now that might change, but as of right now, as of the ORAD event, they can't do that.
So on that acre and a half, is it, could you ever replat those for other additional lots? If it was an
It would
acre and a
have to
half?
be done before they would fund it.
Well, that's me as a builder looking at it. I build to rent. I'd be like, man, I'm replatting that sucker and making more properties on it.
Yeah, so if you actually redeveloped it through the planning, then you can do each lot. So
Yeah,
if you
'cause
do that with your own money, then you can get your own lending on it.
Because I'm sorry, my cat, he's ready. I look at trying to get as much revenue per square foot of dirt. So when I'm looking at, something like that, I would be looking at
that's why.
replatting to get more revenue off of that piece of dirt. If on an acre and a half, I would be thinking, is there a way to get up to 5 different properties out of that, or 4, where there may be, a quarter acre, or putting multiple 1 to 4 family buildings on each property? Because acre and a half, you probably, to do an easy property, I'm sorry, I'm thinking out loud, but it might be good for somebody. On acre and a half, could I split that into 3 lots and put 3 fourplexes on that acre and a half?
Right.
And then I've got 12 doors on an acre and a half.
See, because I've got a 6 acre that I'm looking at and that I can do a seller finance on, that I can put 3 short-term rentals, and I'm going to turn the part of it into a glamping operation as well. That's
Gotcha.
But I got to find the funding for it. And most of the people I'm talking to are not finding that. Now I'm going to an outdoor association thing next month that I might be able to find funding for that. Because that's more of a business loan than it is a property loan.
Yeah. Jared, I hadn't heard, maybe you've already talked. What's the latest on your newest purchase that you're working on?
Yeah, we closed April 2nd. We talked about it in the beginning a little bit. So
I'm sorry. I just wanted to hear.
Yeah, no, yeah, we closed April 2nd. I'll probably fly down a few days before. Got some contractors coming out. My agent knows what I want. I was down there last week. So we'll see what kind of bids I get.
Gotcha.
It's gonna be exciting.
That's good.
It's kind of scary though, because there's a lot of different variables with this, but whatever. It's still co-living. I just running it a different way and different market and everything else. So we'll see.
I liked you put out that video. It was sometime this week that I saw it on how to price out the per room. That was a great video for people interested in that.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. That's how I do it. I don't know if it's right or not, but that's what I've been doing.
I'm going to be doing a new video on my second construction. I haven't shown that one because it's pretty much the exact same. The differences are, the principle is, if you build a floor plan multiple times, you perfect it by the 3rd time. And I'd agree with that. I'm on my 3rd build of this floor plan, and I did my final adjustments, and I think I have it dialed in for this floor plan. I had to add an extra 2 feet, or I did add an extra 2 feet, making it, most of the last 2 builds have been 1360 square feet. So this one's going to be around 14 when it's all measured, around 1420. And I was working on, where do I put those 24 inches? Because it's basically in thirds. You've got bedrooms on one side, kitchen, living, dining in the middle, master on the other, and the garage. And how I'm going to go through it and show the little adjustments I made on that house, just that 2 feet, perfecting that here coming soon.
Third time's a charm. What was the reason for adding the 2 feet?
I just felt it was too tight to put a dining room table. If somebody wanted a dining room table, it needed a couple more feet. I made the island where it's two-sided, where you could use that as your table. But I felt like I wanted to have a little bit of option for a dining room if they wanted it. And then I also made the main living space. I'll do it in the video. I think it's around 9 inches wider. And I walked in and you could instantly feel that. I know it's just 9 inches, but I could instantly feel that 9 inches being perfectly wide enough. And we stole some of those inches from different areas. We made the walkway just a few inches smaller. Did the same thing on the other side. So we played with it, and I think this was the final plan. And my intent is to build it at least 3 more times.
Who actually drew your plans?
I draw every one of mine. I have since I was 18 years old, and I'm realizing back, I would look at floor plans in college, and I was just a weird kid, and I'd get graph paper and say, I see the mistakes in this floor plan, and I would redraw it and what I would call perfect the floor plan. And I did that all these years, and I've drawn every one of our houses that we've built. I drew our short-term rental, and I drew all the buildings that I've ever built. What I'm trying to do is limit hallway space. Hallway space is wasted space. And so I'm trying to figure out how to make as little hallway space as possible. We've got a house, a short-term rental down in Port Aransas, Texas. That's the one that I worked the most hard on, I would say. And that house is 2,400 square feet, and it has no hallways in it, the entire floor plan. Other than the stairway case and it's just stairways to get to the second floor, there's no hallway. And we've asked numerous, I bet you at least a dozen people that have stayed there, how big do you think the house is? And we've had every single one of them say over 3,000 square feet. And I think it's because of it has no hallways.
And did you build that specifically for a short-term rental?
I did, yes.
Can you send that link if you don't mind?
Yeah, give me a second. Give me a second.
Uh-huh.
The house's name is Turtle Aransas. If you want to look it up, it'll show up that way too, but I'll put the link in.
Okay. Yeah, I have 2 doors on the property I'm doing. One of them I'm doing as a short-term rental, and one of them I'm doing as a long-term rental. More than anything else, to create the systems for both.
All right, give me just a second.
So we had some other people join, pretty quiet while Brandon's bringing that up.
Esther, I'm answering your question. I don't draw. I don't have architectural. I don't have that skill. But what I'll do is I'll get it on graph paper. And I know some of y'all have seen that graph paper where it's those little boxes where it's graphed both ways. And I use each box represents 1 square foot. So I'm drawing it. If I have to tape I know this is rudimentary, but that's just what I do. I'll tape multiple pages together and I'll draw it out. And each little box represents a square foot because I know distances, what they need to be efficient and to be effective, where it doesn't feel too cramped. And what, minimum hallway space has to be, 42 inches. Stairways have to be, 42 inches in size, those types of things. I'm drawing it first on that graph paper. And then I've got a friend that can draw them up. The one here that I put on the link, the the Turtle Ranzis house, I did hire a professional architect because we had to. This is a resort, and so there's guidelines of the look and the appearances. And that's the first time I'd ever hired a very expensive architect. I will say he was worth every dime, but I gave him the floor plan, and then we put it together, and then even made some adjustments in the build. I mean, that's what you do sometimes.
This is an awesome property. Did you do the design, or the architect, or did you have a designer do it too?
We did all the interior design. My wife and I did. We picked all the colors because it took us. We sat down with the tile. It was the tile lady, and we sat down with her looking at what all tile and different materials she had, and we would start. That process took. It was around three full days, maybe 3.5. I can't remember how many days. We were there for multiples. It was 3 days, full 8-hour days. We would sit there and literally go from ceiling to floor by every room. And we were picking colors, looking how colors with the wallpaper, and how we were visually walking through it. How would those colors look as you walked through the entire house? Because each room has a theme. And so we were really visually, I mean, it was a lot of work, but I call that one our crowning achievement. That's the one we put a lot of personal thought into.
Yeah, I love this property. You did a great job on it.
Is that the one that your wife wanted, Brandon?
Yeah, the story, I'll tell the story. So
sorry,
she's not here. I'm outside. So it's not making any money. It's paying for itself to some degree. I kept thinking, it's doubled in value, and I'm thinking, man, I could use that equity and make a whole lot more money somewhere else. And so I'm talking to her about selling it. And I'm just a normal conversation, Sharon. I think we really need to sell this. I need to put this on the market soon. And of course, I left the room and come back, and my wife, I mean, the best way I can describe it, she was weeping, and I mean crying. And I'm thinking, oh crap, what did I say? Something rough? What did I do? And I found out later, it was, a little bit later, she says, I dreamed as a little girl of owning a beach house. I played pretend as a little girl, and I'm thinking, well, crap, how do I tell her I'm going to sell it? And I kept looking, I'm looking at the couch, and I'm like, 1 or 2 nights, I think I could do it, but weeks on end, it's going to get pretty uncomfortable. So we chose to keep it. So I worked hard. I did say, okay, we got to trade then. I love building. I love build to rent. I was planning on finishing at 16 doors. I said, okay, then I'm going to at least do 4 more to help pay for that house. You have to let me build more since you want to keep that house. So I did a little trading and kept my wife happy. Because we spend, the guidelines for short-term rental, you can spend up to 2 weeks. Well, I've learned a little bit more with that. If you're doing repairs on it, those days don't count. So every time we head down, I put 2 days down as maintenance, because that is about what we're spending, is about 2 days fixing it up, making sure everything's in good condition, just spending some time. So I've turned that 2 weeks into about 3 weeks a year that we're down there staying at the property.
What's that mean? Is that like a guideline, or is that an Airbnb thing, or is that
It is a guideline for short-term rentals that you can't stay in it for vacation, for fun purposes, for more than 2 weeks. It's the IRS guidelines.
Oh, IRS. Okay. So,
but if
That's
you're
for the
down
tax-
there,
That's for the tax deductions, correct?
yes.
Yeah.
But if you're working on it, those days don't count.
good to know.
So is it not making as much money as you'd like because of the cost of the area and like the association fees?
It's because of the cost of the property. I I mean, we're still generating $100,000 in rents a year.
Wow.
Well, that's still not enough.
Are you managing it yourself or are you co-hosting it?
I have to. The HOA we're part of, they have Vacasa. They want to keep the management consistent. I mean, you're looking at it. It's a pretty expensive
Oh,
resort.
absolutely. Yeah.
And so they were trying to keep the consistency. I wish we had choice, but we don't. But
So-
I do set the rates. I don't let them. I get with them probably at least three times a year. And I'm going through, I've kept them on a Word document every holiday, every, you name it, what's going on down there. They have what's called Sand Fest, which is an international sand sculpting contest. The rates for those that weekend is a little bit higher. So I sit down with them. I don't let them manage my property. In a sense, I tell them, here's what rates are, but I also look at AirDNA. I don't know, some of y'all might be familiar with AirDNA. It's a short-term rental website an analyst type website for short-term rentals.
Yeah, I have AirDNA and Price Labs.
Yep. So I don't want to take up everybody's time. I'm just talking.
No, this is great, Brandon. Appreciate you being here. New stuff. It's cool.
Are they charging 20% or more?
They're charging 20. The going rate down there, and what I've heard even in other areas is above that.
Yeah.
I've heard 25 to 35.
Yes, co-hosting is expensive. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna manage my own, but I'm not in an association, so I don't have any. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Do you have a high rate, or what kind of rate do you have on that debt? That short
Are you
term.
talking to me?
Yeah, that short-term rental.
That one, I got caught in the situation. Do y'all remember a few years ago? It was 21, and this is not meant to be political, but it was just what was happening. There was a lot of refinancing going on and a lot of purchases going on when rates were in the threes. And the Biden administration changed the guidelines when I was getting close to being finished that you couldn't use the conventional product to buy second homes. And so it was suspended for a while, and I had to go through an alternative source because I had it locked in at 3.5. And that's when it got suspended, and I couldn't finish out with that loan product because the guidelines were changed during that temporary time for about a year and a half, I thought, if I remember right. It's not there now. So I only got 5.5, which is not bad now, but it was still 2 points higher than what I would have if I'd have been able to close 90 days before. I'd have been 2 points lower.
Yeah. And say in the future, if it got low enough, you could refi it and make it actually cash flow.
Yeah, that's the 5.5. It's going to have to get a lot lower, or you just refinance it after you've paid some down.
Yeah.
But you can do your own maintenance if you want to, correct?
I could. They do. I mean, it's still new enough. I don't have a lot of maintenance being done. We do it when we go down there, my wife and I, and then I've got contractors too. And I plan to use all of my contractors if I need to put on a Trex type of deck. We didn't do that. I probably will hire my contractor and I'll let them stay down there at the house and put the Trex, or I'll go down with them and help them or supervise them putting that Trex deck, because it's got 3 different decks on this house.
The other thing you could do is try to recast that thing to make it cash flow.
I've thought of that too. If we have some big chunk of money, that's a potential also.
What is a recast?
What you're doing is, okay, let's just take an example. Let's just say it's $500,000 and your loans that $500,000 and you come into $200,000, but you've locked in a good rate and you don't want to refinance it because the rate might be higher. You can talk to the mortgage company and have them recast the loan with that pay down and just re-amortize the loan, paying down that additional 100, 200, whatever that number is, 100, 200,000. they'll recast the loan with that, assuming that's been paid off, that money you've put down.
So that'll reduce your monthly output.
It'll reduce that monthly payment again, but you didn't have to refinance maybe for a higher rate.
Gotcha.
Do you know, Brandon, if there's a minimum percentage for recasting in general?
I have not done it. I'm just aware of it. I know Matt has done it. Lumberjack Landlord has done it. There is a little cost. I do know sometimes they will deny you and not do it. They don't have to do it. But I know Matt has done one, I think recently in the last year or so, I heard him talking about it.
And you have to stick with the same lender, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's the advantage of working with, like, say, a local credit union or local bank or something, is you probably build those relationships and maybe more apt to do that. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm going to try to get all my properties with a local credit union. So
What's your rates at?
who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, mine are horrible. I've got a 7.65, a 7.5, a 6.77, and a 6.25. And then my primary is a 2.25, so that's cool. But yeah, they're all 6.25 and above. So
You're in the same boat I'm going to be in.
Yeah. Well, like somebody else was mentioning earlier, I put a lot down to make sure they cash flowed as a long-term rental. So that way, if everything went to shit, I'd still be good. At least I wouldn't lose the property.
Right.
Potentially. But it's expensive, man. I'm going to run out of money here pretty soon.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to avoid. I paid cash for everything here, and I'll be able to get a rehab, but I have to DSCR out of it once I get everything stabilized right away. Otherwise, I don't have any money to reinvest.
Yeah. That's why what I was mentioning earlier about paying down the debt, and if I can cash out refi, so I can buy 2, maybe 3 more houses, and then I'm broke. But if I can cash out refi, if the rates are low enough to where it's not an alligator, then I could buy another house. So then and at that point I could retire. So that's what I'm trying to squeeze out, that last bit,
And your rates are that high even with the W-2?
Yeah, they're DSCR loans. Well, at the time I did the 2 DSCRs, I didn't have a W-2.
Gotcha.
So I was a risk. So I didn't have any history. The brand new investor, they consider, if you're under a year, if you have a property for under a year, you're considered a novice investor. So your rates are higher, and they force you to put, and I couldn't do the 20% is kind of the minimum. I had to put 25 down on the first 1% down. And then I came back to them a month later and said, hey, I want to do this again. And they thought I was absolutely crazy. And so they said, hey, you got to put 30% down. I was like, okay. They just looked at me like I'm a total nut job. But the way I look at it, it's not gone. It's just trapped in equity.
Right.
And so, for me, it's fine. I just, I wanted to get going, and I just wanted to have that cash flow coming in. And I did try to slow down, and I kind of did. So I'm just trying to go slow enough to where I learn as I go, like Brandon was saying on his third deal there. So on my third property, I learned a little bit more. So I feel pretty confident in what I'm doing now, which is why I'm able to at least jump off and do this thing on my own on this Gilbert house. So we'll see how it goes. Could be a disaster, but I've learned enough now to where I think I can go off and make it work.
Yeah, it took me a minute with my HELOC because it's like 11%. Yeah, but it's a HELOC. And it took me a while to understand it for 2 things. I've got a 3.5% on my primary. So you average the 2 out, it's not that bad. Then also, if you treat it as a tool, which is what it is, then it's fine. It's cheaper than doing a hard money loan. That's for sure. And that's the way because I don't have to pay points.
Yeah, it's like if you can pay off your HELOC in under 6 months, the rates, I mean, they matter, but not really that much.
Yeah, I'm not going to pay it off. I'm just going to keep using it. I'm going to just keep turning it into another property, another property, another property.
Yeah.
It's just going to be an ongoing thing that I don't have to pay points for.
Yeah, that's what Millennial Mike has done. Millennial Mike's taken his HELOC and used it for 27 units. Something like that.
Yeah. So it depends on how long they make me wait till I can DSCR the properties after I rehab them. If they make me wait 6 months, that's going to suck.
Well, that's where the credit unions are nice, is because, like Matt Lumberjack was talking about, he can have seasoning in like 3 months or less because of the relationship.
Yeah. But he had a W-2 to start with, and he's got the history.
That's true.
That's not an option for me at all.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another reason why I want to acquire as many properties now while I have the W-2 for the next year or two. And then after you get to like say 8 or 9, then I'll probably bail and then we'll just go full-time real estate. That's why, Richard, I was interested in what you're doing there because I think with the market the way it is, and hopefully the rates will come down, then I think flipping might actually become a thing again.
My problem with flipping is I don't want to pay the taxes on it, so I'd rather hold it.
That's why what Richard's doing, he'll flip 1 or 2 and then buy and hold, flip 1 or 2 and buy, and like Jason Pritchard style,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you hold it 1 year, then you're on capital gains, not on income.
Oh, I'm just talking about using the one of your hold properties to offset your tax burden on your flips.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But in Matt's course, I didn't realize you could actually 1031 them. So you can do a flip, and then you can 1031 that into another property.
Is there a certain time you have to hold that property before you?
I don't believe so. I've got to look more into it.
Oh, that's cool.
As long as I can 1031 it, that's all I care about.
Nice.
I do have to look more into it, that's for sure. Because I'd rather turn my business into flips than do work for people. Much rather do that.
Yeah.
It's way more productive. Kind of like what Brandon's doing. But on the flip side, instead of the build to,
yeah,
I'm not going to do the build in California. That's just no. I'm gonna try one at some point. I'm gonna buy a piece of property that I can do two ADUs on it, and I'm gonna try it. But that's gonna be a 1.5-year process. So I want to get that one building done, turned, generating income, and then start the process.
And I heard build in California is so much longer and the impact fees are so much higher.
Yeah, just school taxes are over 4%. Yeah, and then if you're in the local area, you're tap in for your water sewer, you're looking at 20 grand.
Yeah.
I mean it's kind of a toss because if you're in a rural area, you're doing a well and a septic, it's kind of the same. So you're getting hit either way. Doesn't matter.
They're extracting their pound of flesh.
Yes, correct. And I don't mind them extracting their pound of flesh. Just let me do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to, the whole ADU thing just is a boondoggle to me because, yeah, they approved it, but they make it so hard to do them. It's ridiculous.
But they could say they approved it.
So yes, exactly. Correct. Yeah.
Well, I'm working. I know Jared has heard me talk about it. I was elected to the appraisal board for our county. And so I've been to 2 meetings now, and boy, am I so green and real. I thought it was just serving on a board. It is so political. It's not even funny. I'm sometimes questioning, what did I get myself into? But one of the things that we've worked on is allowing us as investors to go off of a cap rate, which then allows us to put in all of our expenses. And they're allowing us to be valued on a 10.3 cap, which is good. It's putting it way down. And so we're able to get that significantly lower than comps. If you just take the sales approach, it taxes us into oblivion, which then harms the renters. And so we've gotten them to agree to doing a cap rate calculation and including every expense. Because what they were doing was not allowing some of the expenses. They put in these little ratios to basically to make it higher. And we got them to agree to allow us to put in all of our expenses, which I'm going to the appraisal board. Me as a board member, I'm going to the appraisal board to protest my value. It should come down. With that change, it's going to come down and save me for these 2 properties. It's going to save about $2,000 per property on property tax.
Are your property taxes high in Texas?
They are. Not 4%, but they're running around 2.2 in our area.
That's one thing California has not done. We're only like 1.25.
Yeah, we're 2.2 and it's on the full market value. But now that we as investors can go in and do the cap rate model, it's taking a property that's worth 740 and it's putting it down at 320,000.
Well, and that's the thing. If they want builders and investors to come in and actually give housing, they need to do stuff like that.
Yep. Because you raise those property taxes, who does it hurt the most? It hurts the renters.
Yeah.
Who can least afford it.
Right.
That is really who's paying it. It's not the owner, it's the tenant.
Yeah. Because you have to pass it on or you're not in business.
Yep.
I'm at 0.64.
Make me
Sorry,
sick.
that's one of the reasons I went to Arizona. My insurance is $1,100 on a $500,000 property, and it's like $2,000 on the property taxes. I got one at 1,800.
I was gonna say there's no way that was Oregon.
No, Oregon, dude, Oregon. I don't know what it is, but I pay like almost $9,000 on a $1 million home, something like that.
Yeah.
I have
in the
3.5.
The county I'm in, we're actually at the same as you are, Brent.
Are you?
Yeah, but we're high, like second highest in the state. But yeah,
you're in Florida, right, John?
I'm in Florida, but yeah, but any
here.
county adjacent to us is 40% less.
There's been rumor mills about Florida waiving the property tax, like for the whole state.
I don't know how they would do that for us as a county, which
yeah, that'd be cool.
I don't know.
Go Florida.
Is that because of all their issues with HOAs and condos and everything else?
I heard it was also because of the insurance went way up. Somebody's floating the idea. We'll see. It probably won't go anywhere, but somebody's trying to float that.
Yeah, they've got a perfect storm in Florida right now. That's for sure.
Our property tax, now I'm including everything, every property we own, this year will be 70 to 72,000.
That's on what, 12 properties?
12 properties.
Okay. Not horrible. I mean, not great, but
yeah, I purchased mine and I got a tax payment due in 10 days.
The one down in Port Aransas, the Turtle Aransas house, 22 grand.
Ouch.
Wow.
22,
that's why you're not
22 grand. Yep, for property tax.
Jeez.
Insurance down there is costing me $12,000 a year.
Wow.
So you're at 34 grand just on insurance and property tax.
Just that alone.
Wow. That's brutal, man. Good times. All righty. Are we winding down?
Richard, were you saying something? I could tell you're on mute, Richard. Okay.
Sorry, I talked to my wife. That's why I have it on mute. She's asking questions about what she's hearing.
I liked your story, Richard. I really liked that video you did, man. While you and your wife were talking and how she gave you another 2 years. That was cool. I have a similar situation. My wife, I quit my job and she's like, "Are you out of your mind?" And anyway, it's working out. So that's cool.
I think we're all on the same page now, and she's been a big part of the community now, getting a lot more involved. So she's
nice.
She sees the benefit in what we're doing.
I didn't see that video. Do you have a link to it?
It was Financial Firefighters channel or something. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Maybe the third live or the third talk that he did.
Okay.
After our event in Vegas.
Yeah, well, I don't want to give Mark credit though.
That's funny. That was really cool hanging out with everybody in Vegas, man. That was a lot of fun.
No, it was for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to next year and coming back and knowing everybody a little bit more. And
yeah. I ran into Rick Dews. I don't know if you guys met him, but his and hers real estate investing and super cool dude. reached out to him after he was on Zuber's channel, and he was on a cruise. And
Yeah.
so I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but then I ran into him in the hotel and we talked for about an hour. He's a really cool dude. I like that guy. He's investing in Georgia, but he does flips too, Richard. So he's a good guy to know for, strategy and tips and tricks and that kind of thing.
Hey, Richard, are you going? Do you have time, or are you going to Deal Champs in Fresno? It's coming up.
I'm not sure that I'm going to make it this time. Yeah, got a lot going on and a lot of expenses.
I understand that one. That's for sure.
Is anyone going to the Bigger Pockets one in October?
I'm not. Yeah, I like the community I'm in now. I don't need that one too. I would love to go just to support Dion, but I can only go to Vegas so many times. I've been there like 30 times now. Yeah, I don't need to go again.
I agree.
I like the idea of LobbyCon.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Or Denny's Con.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Denny's.
thought a little bit about it to support Dion. I'm not certain. I'm there with you, Jim. That's what I thought about. Is do I want to go back to Vegas?
Yeah. I mean, I guarantee I'd learn something, but that's another 1,500, $2,000. I've already got enough invested into this. I really want to work on properties, not more education. I've got enough of that here. And I like I said, I really like this community. It's really good.
I think some of the things that I like the most, just comparing a little bit to Bigger Pockets, is it's more real, attainable, smaller investors, and of course the one rental at a time. I think that it just makes it more where you can apply it to your life a lot easier.
Yes.
I agree with that too.
Yeah, I like that more people are closer to the beginning than the end, like see you're more, I mean, I don't get me wrong, love Zuber, Dion, all those guys, but man, they're so far along. They may have forgotten some of the struggles and some of the little stuff along the way in the very beginning that we're all dealing with. So I like that we're communicating, even though they're different strategies, we still have same similar issues like debt, like or financing or, obtaining deal flow, things like that. And just managing members, tenants, whatever you want to call them, still similar stuff. So I like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how many things kind of correlate.
And everybody shares what they're doing and is very open, and I can appreciate that too. Other communities have been very closed off about how they're going about things, and I like being the small fish in this big pond where you can actually have a lot of room to grow.
I agree. Everybody here has seemed open, and I will say those three: Dion, Mike, and Michael, and all Matt. I'm trying to think of all. They've been very open, and I think they created that culture. And we are all kind of being, I think, the protectors of that culture too, is just being able to be real and say, hey, man, here's one. I think I made a mistake, and that's what I'm going to share some in some videos this summer, that it's not all perfect. You learn from every time you make. Hopefully it's not a fatal mistake, but you make little errors. You think, okay, I'm not going to do this again, but here's the mistake. Maybe I can help somebody not make this mistake.
Yeah, that's why I like Marcus Shiro so much, and I'd never even met him. Now that I met him, I don't like him as much. No, I'm kidding. That's a bad joke.
Mark, we hope you hear this.
Don't share this with Mark. No, I love Mark, but he was sharing his story and how he he left and he took his retirement and he went out and bought like, I don't know, 9 or 14 properties or whatever it was in a short amount of time, and he had a lot of vacancy and he almost lost them. And so Dion had shared that story with me at the ORAD event last year. And that caused me to kind of half-ass pay attention. And then, Matt had told me, hey, slow down, you're basically slow, smooth as fast and all that. And then Chad Carson really drove it home. So I really appreciate Mark sharing that. So Dion could tell me to help me slow the hell down and not do dumb shit too.
I can't believe he hasn't been to any of the 14.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah.
I just, that's not my DNA. I have to see what I'm getting into.
Me too, man. I had to
No
go
way.
fly out, even though I saw the videos and the walkthrough and the FaceTime or whatever the hell it was. And I just had to see it. You know what I mean? I just had to put my eyes on it.
Especially
Especially for
I am planning on going out to Gary because hopefully Matt and Mike are supposed to be going out. Dion's going to be in wherever Thailand or wherever he's going. But they're supposed to be going out in April, so I'm gonna probably tag along on that one.
Oh, really? That'd be fun. I don't invest in there and don't plan on it, but it'd be fun just to go see it because everybody talks about it so much.
Yeah, no, I do plan on investing there. I want to get like 4 or 5 houses there.
Hmm.
Just because I can get into it lower, get a couple $100 per door, and then just have something as a cash flow. Because it's going to cash flow the same as what is here, but it's a way lower entry level.
You know what we should do is, if people were interested in this, I talked to Millennial Mike about this a while ago. He had bought a fourplex and was fixing it up, and right next door was another fourplex. And I had pinged him about it, and I said, you know, hey, if we could buy up the neighborhood and make the whole neighborhood better, then everybody's houses would appreciate.
Yeah.
So if you had enough people together to go in and just buy up a block or two of properties and just raise them all up, that might be a strategy.
The problem they're having though is getting the tenants.
Mm.
Because most of it's Section 8. So you have to have enough vouchers. So that means you're going to have 8 units that have to get rented.
Oh, okay.
That's the problem right now. So, and he was having problems too where the utilities, he had one that they didn't take into account, the utilities haven't been turned on in years. Well, that's a whole new inspection now.
Oh, wow.
So you have to go through, make sure everything is up to code, current, and everything else to be able to get the utilities on. And that's a process.
I can imagine turning the power on and the whole house burning.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, but yeah, and I'm also looking at Richard's area too, because they've got some good entry level homes. I like both those areas, but his area is not quite as scary.
The thing for me there is just the team I have there is my security blanket.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons I am looking at Gary is because there is a team there. There's a lot of ORAP people that are already there.
It makes a big difference.
Yes, correct. So it's a good problem to have all these options. But sometimes it can actually be too many options and you can't really pick a direction.
Yeah, that's why I like that focus, fixate on one course until successful type of strategy. So
yeah. Well, my one course is all value add. So where I go doesn't matter to me as long as that value add is there. I want my money back. That's my number one focal point. Get into it, get my money back, start on the next one.
cool deal. Are we winding down? I see several people dropped already. Or are we got another topic or anything? Or?
I'm going back to work, so
I got to go finish up a cost seg. I'm dreading it. I spent, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes going through DIY cost seg, putting in all the data and everything, and I hit next, and it said something, and I went back and lost it all. I about threw the computer through the freaking. I was like, all right, I'm done. So I took a 2-day break, and I'm gonna go back again, but I'm gonna capture everything in a document, and then that way, if I lose it again. I did submit something. I'll let you guys know in the future how it goes. It takes 7 days. I went ahead and paid the concierge on another DSCR that I didn't do any construction on to see. It's an extra $200 on top of the 500 or whatever it is to have them do it. So I wanted to see what they came up with on that property because it's a similar price. I paid $465 for that one. This one I paid $405. Close enough. We'll see what the numbers come out in a 60% year the way they do it. And then I'm going to do mine and see what happens and I'm also going to compare DIY cost seg's way of doing it to cost seg EZ. So I've never done a actual engineer going out to the property and doing a cost seg. So I'm just using the averages based on these guys' websites. And I know that Matt Lumberjack uses DIY cost seg. So I figured, if he's doing it, it's good enough for him, then it's probably good enough for me.
Any updates on Jen, working with Jen?
Yeah, so it's what they do is they put you in WhatsApp and they create 2 different groups. They have a data miner group and then they have a call group, and she oversees the whole thing. So this is something that takes a lot of time. It's not going to be anything tomorrow or even this month or whatever. But they give you they ask you what your market is, and they do 4,000 lists a month. And so I'm looking at Chandler and Gilbert, which doesn't even hit 600. So I added Phoenix, and so that comes up to about 1,000 lists a week. So 4,000 a month, and then she gives all that based on your buy box, by the way. So I gave them my 2,000 square feet, no HOA, no pool, 2.5 bath. And so they take that list and give it to the caller, and then the caller calls through the list every day. So they spend, I think it's 40 hours a week. I can't remember what it is, but you pay, it's like $540, and that gets you the list generation of 4,000 and then the calling for the month. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but that's how it breaks down. And then what happens is the caller will update you inside WhatsApp, and he'll say, hey, these are the lists I called today. Here's the responses I got, and here's a potential, that kind of thing. So far, it's just been future sales. I do have one, but it's outside my range. It's actually a house that's listed on market, and it's listed for $699, and I'm not going to go that high, especially for a house in Phoenix. So anyway, so far, it is what it is. I just did it because I just wanted to try it. I'm going to do it for 3 months and see what happens. So
I'm curious about the back end of it, how the phone calls are going to work. Getting the information is one thing, but that's a lot of work to make it to follow up on it.
Yeah, that's why I did the caller person, and I think it's a benefit. The person's in the Philippines and it's a guy, but it sounds like a woman. And so I think that's actually a benefit. It's less threatening, not so defensive, when you call. So
So are they actually getting more information than normal, or?
Oh yeah, man. Like you holy crap. Like all this last one I got was a full breakdown on this house. It's out of my price range probably, and you can, if you want, have Jen come in. If you're going to call the potential seller, you can have Jen come in and basically oversee it or even make the call. I don't know what that cost is. I'm guessing it's fairly significant, but I don't know.
I just don't have the time for that stuff. I didn't know they had the other part of it. I thought they were just giving me information. You had to do the actual calling.
Oh no, they have a caller too. I think if you didn't do the calling, it'd be probably half the cost. But yeah, if I can share, this is like a full on page. He says, gives me the owner's name, the address, the phone number of the person that they called. Gives you a breakdown. Like, spoke to Sayad. He said this is his brother's primary home, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. He goes through and gives all a list of stuff that this is a little in depth more than normal, but about the countertops, condition of the house, and upgrades and all this stuff. And then at the bottom it says properties listed with the realtor, however, blah blah blah. Said it's available anytime for a callback. But looking at the property, I can't afford it, and for what I'm doing, there's no parking on it either. So that's kind of I wouldn't want to spend the money on that. And, it doesn't fit my quote unquote buy box. It's really hard to give them, parking.
So what's that costing with them doing the calling too?
That's the 540 for both.
Oh, 540 for both.
540 a month. But there's also a upfront cost of buying the batch dialer and buying the phone numbers. And I cheated. It's like $129 normally, but I went online and found a code. I forgot what it was. It was like batch 1,000 or something, and I paid $55. And I sent that to Jen so she could give that to other people in case it worked for them. Because you just Google or Chat GPT, hey, code for batch dialer, and boom, it gives it to you. And then I did one thing too. I tied him the dialer. I tied him into my CRM. So, and I plugged in I use Podio for my CRM. So I plugged in one of the free plugins for the deal flow. So they have I should go check to see if he's actually put that in there. But I tied the caller into that so he can update the deal flow in my CRM also.
It sounds a lot like I just did the Jason Pritchard things, 2 of them on Skool, and seems a lot like that then.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but yeah.
Yeah, on the Skool community, you watch through Jason Pritchard's he's got 3 videos on there, about an hour and a half each.
Oh, okay.
Wholesaling on one of them, then one of them was private money lending, and I don't remember what the third one was.
I think he's got like 25 or 30 people dialing on his team though, and he employs them directly. This is going through Jen, and she oversees it, right? So she sort of polices to people and gives, and she'll say in there, like, once every other day or so, she'll say, hey, let's switch up the times. She'll give advice like, hey, call it a different time. And then, she'll pop in there and she'll say, she's really open about stuff. She's like, hey, you need to do this or need to do that. And she's not hiding anything. Like, she's telling the callers, and I'm on the distro. So I'm seeing what she's telling them. Right. So I was like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I watched both the videos with Matt and with Mark. Got to give him credit again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so she's got a good system there. And it was interesting how she, I think she had a heart attack or something like that. So she had to scale down. Yeah. So it was an interesting video. If you haven't seen that one, watch Mark's channel on that, because it had more information than Matt was talking about with the whole thing.
I watched the end of that one. I caught the last like 20 minutes of it because I was in Arizona when they did that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm interested in that, but I think I'm 3 to 4 years away from something like that.
I just figured I'd try it while I have a W-2 and I've got the income. I might as well, because down the road after I retire and I just have the rental income, then it'll be might be a little tighter.
Right.
Yeah.
See, I just have to work more hours.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I have found, though, is trying to negotiate the time I'm watching these type of things and talking to people and actually getting out and back to work. I can do it all because I'll just work later. Like today, I'll go back to do the job, go to a job site or do a couple things after I'm on these calls. That's the only reason I can do them. But it's a little addictive. I'm just trying to stay away from realtor.com right now.
Yeah.
I've got the 2 properties. I'm going to concentrate on those and stay away from that for at least 2 months. It's hard to do it, though. I think I'm missing something every day.
All righty, guys.
Well, just I didn't share one thing.
Yeah.
You there?
Yeah.
I'm going to be teaching the seniors again for the entire week. There's 2 economics classes. It's a small campus, so there's only 30 kids. And so they've asked me to teach the entire week. So, hey, be thinking on that, pray on it, help give me wisdom, and I'll share more. Hopefully next week I'll be able to get on again and share what the week was like teaching those seniors.
You're talking high school, correct?
Yes, high school.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
I wish I would have heard something like this when I was getting into high school, man.
Me too.
I joined the Army because I thought, well, I can't go to college. Don't have the money for that. So the only way to get they told you, the system was very much, you have to get a good job. So I couldn't get a good job because I didn't have a degree, and I couldn't get the degree because I didn't have the college. So I had to go join the Army, and then that was only good for a year. So then I had to work 3 jobs to get the damn college right after I got out of the Army, and then I get the job, and then I work my whole life, and then find out it's all a joke anyway, and now I'm in real estate. It's like, son of a bitch.
Well, isn't that how Cody Davis started in high school as teacher?
Yes.
About it? Yeah.
Is it Cody Sanchez?
Cody Davis. I thought it was
Cody Davis.
Yeah, the young one that has the multifamily.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Cody Davis.
Who's 25 and scaling down.
I know.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Well, I'm going to mention that video. If you want to say my homework, I've got a YouTube video for every evening that I want them to watch. And that Cody one interview with, I guess that was interviewing with Michael, is one of the videos I'm going to have them watch because he's close to their age.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's awesome. Like I said, I wish that's something. I wish I paid attention to that. I haven't been on social media until I started this whole thing 8 months ago. I've never touched social media.
Yeah, he was, I think, 18 or 19 when he was a real estate agent.
Yeah.
A deal, he had leveraged a failed deal that was known to fail. That wasn't going to go anyway. When he was talking to this deal in Eastern Washington, and he says, "Oh, I just had a failed contract go in and blah, blah, blah." And he was talking to this person, and he drove out there 2 or 3 hours every day to look at this multifamily before he locked it up. So the kid put some time and effort in.
Brandon.
Yes.
I got my senior right here, and I just asked him a question. What would get his attention being a senior if you came in and talked about this topic other than just blowing it off or being like, oh, it's another class. So I'm going to put him on real quick. I asked him the question. I said, will you tell Brandon what would get your attention?
I
This
love
is
that.
my son,
Tell me.
Ethan. Hello.
Hey,
So tell him what would get your attention if he was giving this class to you.
I would say just tell someone where they would be in 5 to 10 years, how long it takes to be successful, and then probably the numbers overall. But the number one and the steps to get there. But the number one thing is just tell them like realistically how long, how many years it would take to get to a good point.
okay. I do
And
have
how
that
much-
in the material that I
Yeah.
say I'm not going to teach you a get rich quick scheme. I'm going to teach you a get wealthy for sure plan. And you can do it in 10 years. You could start at 18. And if you do this plan of house hacking, you'll be there by 28. You'll have financial freedom. I'm going to show them how to do it.
Sounds good. I think kids will pay attention to that.
I call it how to be a millionaire on 5th grade math.
There you go. I was just remembering being a senior and how wore out they are as a senior, wanting to just get out of there, right, and start life. And I know he's taking interest hearing everything that we're always talking about, but just, I was like, what's going to get you actually interested in listening to this and wanting to maybe take these steps, that you're being told.
I appreciate you bringing him. That was good to hear what his thoughts are, because that's, the teacher called me to teach. She says, here's what's going on with these seniors. And my daughter's going to be in one of the classes. She says they're starting to get a little nervous because they realize the real world's coming right at them very soon. And what you're going to be teaching over this next week, I think they will have some interest because it's real practical living.
That's awesome. I love that.
Hey, Richard, what are you feeding that kid, man?
What are you, 220, Ethan?
Does he play ball?
No, he just works out like constantly.
Well, next week, I'm going to share some of the questions they asked and just a little bit of the insights from the week. So maybe he'll be able to hear some of that too.
Awesome. I subscribe to your channel. Are you going to have any of it on your channel there?
I don't think I can record it, but I will probably record a video on the week.
Cool. Yeah, we'll tune into that and I'll have him listen.
Good to know.
Yeah. Thanks for what you do, Brandon. And everybody, thank you. I'm going to take off, but I appreciate the conversation today, guys.
See you, Richard.
See you,
Thank
Richard.
you. Later.
I think I've got to head too.
Yeah,
I think we all are.
wrap it up. All right, guys, it's been fun. Take it easy.
Thanks. See you next week.
Okay.
See you next week.